Triad pairs. Hey guys, Nathan Graybeal here. As you heard there, triad pairs is a concept that unlocks access to a cool sound to have in your improvisational toolkit. Today, I will fully break down everything you need to know about triad pairs, and I will share with you 12 of the most optimal triad pair configurations. Everything we're about to dive in today can be found in our brand new resource that we just launched here at Jazz Lesson Videos, entitled 72 Triad Pair Phrases. In it, you'll find an extensive thesaurus that reveals the best triad pair options throughout 16 different chord qualities in jazz. And I've constructed 72 original lines for all of them to demonstrate how each configuration could be played in a real live solo. Everything in it is written in all 12 keys for you, and it also comes with recordings of all 72 phrases. If you'd like to download it, you can find it in the link in the description below and use code NG5 for $5 off. Alrighty, so first, I'm going to get really deep. I will explain this theoretically so that you can fully understand all there is to know about triad pairs. Then, after the theory portion of this video, I will simplify everything so that you can practice it in the most practical way without feeling overwhelmed. Now, let's get into the theory of it. First, how do we make a triad pair? Well, as you probably already know, there are 4 different types of triads: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. You can take 2 different triads of any of these types, like A flat major and B flat diminished. So now we have 2 different triads, hence the name triad pairs, because they are a pair of triads. Now from here, we can either alternate them in succession, like this, or you can put all these notes next to each other in their closest intervals, which results in a beautiful 6-note scale, which we call a hexatonic scale. There is a rule, however. Neither of these triads are allowed to share a same note. For example, a good triad pair would be one like G major and F major. These have 6 different notes. This allows us to voice lead all of their inversions in a smooth manner. If you look at every downbeat, you'll see that they are both triads independently walking up their next note in their own triad. They are 2 independent triads that closely weave together within a chord, resulting in a neat sound. This does not work with just any pairing of triad. An example would be F major and B flat. It sounds good like this, but they do both share an F. F is the root of F major, and F is the 5th of B flat major. So when we try to build the hexatonic, we'll see that we only end up with 5 different notes and 2 Fs. Let's try to build their alternating triads from here. First, we have our F triad. Good. Then the next chord needs to be a B flat chord because we're trying to alternate these chords. So here's our second F, and we're going to build the B flat triad on top of this. After finishing the rest, it all ends up sounding like this. Not super practical, so for triad pairs, keep that rule in mind. 6 different notes total. Alright, so what are the triad pairs that do work, and when do they work, and over what chords do they work? Well, we can find out by first taking a look at any scale. For example, let's look at the C Dorian scale. Okay, now let's stack triads on all the notes, revealing their diatonic triads. Cool! Well, right off the bat, we can see that any 2 of these triads that are just a scale step away from each other qualifies as a valid triad pair. You are guaranteed that none of these configurations will share any of the same notes. So initially you might think, gosh, that is a lot of triad pairs. Should I practice them all? The answer is no, because not all triad pairs are created equal. Let me explain. Let's go back to that C dorian scale. What chord do we play the C dorian for? That would be a C minor 7. When we come across this chord, what notes should we strive to emphasize? Well, the most important notes would be the guide tones, the flat third and the flat seventh. These reveal if the chord is minor or major or dominant. The next down the line of the most important notes in this chord would be the 9th and the 13th. As these two notes reveal colorful extensions as well as key information of what the mode is. In modal tunes, tunes with chords lasting many measures at a time, you'll want to especially emphasize these color tones. The next important note down the line would be the 11th. A solid extension that supports the harmony. Then the bottom two would be the 5th and the root, as they are pretty neutral sounding, and the root will always be provided by the bass player in the rhythm section. So is there an optimal triad pair that for sure has all of the most important notes of the Dorian mode? Why yes, there is. We can see it here from 2 minor to flat 3 major. In this key, this means a D minor triad and an E flat major triad. Two triads whose roots are a half step apart. If we look at the hexatonic scale this creates, we can see that we have all of the juiciest possible notes for this chord. The only note missing is the root, which again, the bass player will provide that note for us. Here is a line from the 72 triad pair phrases book that shows how this could be played. If you wanted another good option that does include the guide tones and the 13th, you could also play the triad pair from flat 3 major and 4 major. In this case, E flat major and F major, two triads whose roots are this time a whole step apart. When we look at the hexatonic scale, we see that we're going to miss the 9th, but we still have our guide tones, and this time the 11th, introducing a new flavor. Here's another line from the book that shows how this could be played. Sounds pretty cool. These pairs sound great over tunes where a minor chord based on the Dorian mode will last for several measures at a time, like Impressions or So What or even Record a Me. However, in other more traditional bebop tunes where the changes are moving a little faster, sometimes this 13th is considered an avoid tone, a diatonic note that you want to be cautious of. Why? Well, let's take a look at a quick 2-5-1 in B flat major. The 2 chord is a C minor 7. Its flat 7th is a B flat. This note smoothly voice leads down to the 3rd of the F7 after it. This half step movement is essential in playing these changes at their appropriate times. If we were to play the 13th in C minor 7, which is also an A, we're sort of getting rid of that opportunity to voice lead through these changes with a convincing half step. It more so just ends up sounding like an early F7. So if you wanted an optimal triad pair for Dorian that avoids the 13th, the optimal triad pair would be flat 7 major and 1 minor, which in this key would be a B flat major triad and a C minor triad. Two triads whose roots are again a whole step apart. As you can see from its hexatonic scale, we now have all the notes of Dorian except the 13. Mission accomplished. All the triad pairs within this scale would be missing a guide tone, so I won't consider those an optimal triad pair, and therefore I did not include those in the resource. So here's another line from the book that demonstrates how this pair could be played. Amazing! We can apply this concept to every single chord type in jazz. And we can always find an optimal triad pair that will guarantee you play all the key, colorful, juicy tones that whichever chord you're on is wanting you to play. Some chords have multiple good options like Dorian there does, and some chords only have one good option. For example, a dominant chord with a flat 9 and a flat 13. Let's take an A7 flat 9 flat 13. Over this chord, you would want to use the Phrygian dominant scale, aka the 5th mode of harmonic minor. The most important notes again would be the guide tones, C sharp and G, and then, as shown in the chord, the flat 9 and the flat 13th, B flat and F natural. The avoid tone in this case would actually be the perfect 4th. You're not going to find a tune where you really want to emphasize the 4th on a chord like this. So what triad pair has all of these notes and avoids the 4th? There's only one pair, and it's found here. The 5 diminished and the flat 6 augmented. Let's play a line from 72 triad pair phrases that shows how this pair over this chord could be played. All of the various optimal triad pair findings on 16 different chord qualities in jazz can be summarized and simplified to just 12 different possible triad pair configurations. You'll notice that 7 of them have roots that are a whole step apart, 4 of them with a half step apart, and 1 of them is actually a tritone apart. The thesaurus chapter of the book displays in 12 keys where to find all of these spots within all 16 chord types. For fun, let's play a line for all 12 configurations. All these included in the 72 triad pair phrases book. Incredible. So that was a lot of information to digest, huh? Feel free to go back as many times as you need till you fully understand everything. Now that we've laid out the theoretical part, it's time to discuss how should we actually go about practicing all this material. There are 3 ways you could go about it, and I've labeled them like this. 1, the spontaneous way. 2, the urgent way. And 3, the systematic way. Let's first discuss the spontaneous way. In this method, you would flip through the book and just sight read random pages till something jumps at your ear. From this point, you can look at the top of the page and it will tell you what specific pair this is and all the chords that this pair is optimal for. From then on, you can find tunes with one of those chords and practice that particular phrase into your vocabulary. Or you can just practice improvising with that pair over those chords. Now there's the second method, the urgent way. Say you're working on a tune that you've got to perform soon. The tune feels mostly good, but there's a particular chord you aren't as familiar playing over right now. And you really want some cool hip material over those chords right now. Well, you can go to the thesaurus section of the book, find that exact chord you're wanting to work on, and you'll see all of the optimal triad pairs. From that point, you can flip straight to the pages of those triad pairs and instantly find many examples of cool practical lines you could do over that chord you're working on. And finally, the third way, the systematic way. This would be the most long-term method. Say you're just so in love with triad pairs that you've decided you really want to master all of them inside and out. Well, you could take one of the 12 configurations at a time, and without even considering their harmonic application yet, devote your time and attention to mastering that configuration in 12 keys. Then once it's all cooking in your muscle memory, you can refer to the thesaurus and find all the available chords that you're ready to apply that language right now. From this point, you can play through several tunes and apply this language on every single chord that is viable for this triad pair configuration. This process will seal the deal, making sure it's in your improvisation forever. After that, work on the next configuration in 12 keys and rinse and repeat. This method would be a very long-term project. Admittedly, I haven't even gone this way with these triad pairs. I'm more of a spontaneous way type of guy. I could never be that disciplined. Alrighty everybody, that concludes our video for today. Again, if you want to download our new resource 72 triad pair phrases, you can find the link in the description below and use code NG5 for $5 off. Thank you all so much for watching, and I appreciate when you hit the like and subscribe button below as it helps this channel grow. And as always, feel free to comment anything below that you'd like to see from us in the future. Take care, I'll see you next time.